16 here, which is a declined Latvian gambit. And the fact is that in this kind of Latvian gambit, you're stuck in kind of an even middle game. And what you're going to notice is that due to the kind of positional setup we create with the open F file, we weren't able to do much of creating a pawn on e4, but we were able to occupy the center, and we did end up simply castling kingside and embracing many of the principles of the Latvian gambit. The entire game is basically about a pin, and we're going to look at the game right now. Start our engine. And this kind of position is played against me frequently. So basically they've declined it, and they've set up a very passive situation with King's Indian attack coming something is. Obviously they abandoned that. They just want to play a very passive, protected game. The pin is not a bad move. Actually, this says that it's an even game. Now I play h6, and the reason I play h6 is that I'm expecting white to play knight to c6 to d5, and I want to put my bishop on a more aggressive square than e7, and this is a way to do it. So this is slightly inaccurate, but after this exchange, once again it says basically even. So he does play knight to c6, and then I pin it, or knight to c3 rather. So it's necessary to pin it. What you want to do in these situations is do one of two things: either take the knight off, or play d3, and then when he moves it to d5, retreat your queen to f7. So taking the knight off cripples the white pawn structure and creates pawn phalanxes that are tough to deal with for white. So this is exactly the wrong idea. White wants to chase that bishop. He puts the question to the bishop, thereby allowing me to do what I was going to do anyway and cripple his pawns. And now it's necessary to create the pawn islands. So what we have is we have 3 pawn islands for white, 2 of which have isolated pawns, 1 of which has doubled pawns, and so strategically we have a superior position. These are standard moves at this point. He checks. Now this is the beginning of a whole lot of unusual moves with that bishop. For some reason he just didn't have a plan. He just wants to move that bishop everywhere. So we go in the corner. He moves the bishop back because he doesn't like the idea of a pin. So this is just a very strange move. It's clueless. On the other hand, it's an even game. Basically, nobody's more than half a pawn up. So now I move bishop to e3, and the idea of what we're going to do here is we're going to move b6 because that pawn's going to need to be protected, and then we're going to eventually get our knight to f4. And in the meantime, he has very little counterplay or levers on the queen side to do anything with these pawns. Now it says I can move knight to a5 right away. The computer is in love with the idea of moving the knight to a5 in this kind of position. So I want to put it on the king side. Now it says the best thing for him to do is to retreat the knight, simply to avoid the pin. Instead, he moves bishop to e2 for the 3rd time in this game, it appears. So now we're going to go knight to g6. And notice the evaluation building here. Once again, this is all predicated on what are we going to do with that knight on f6, and how are we going to get the pawn side crippled, or rather the king side pawns crippled. So knight to d2 is a good move. Unfortunately, he moves his rook up. Now, he just didn't have a plan. So we chase the rook, and now guess what? The best place for the rook is just where it was on the last move. And we haven't decreased the strength of our pawns, really. And, he's going to put his rook on a much worse square. So when he goes on that square, it's in danger of being trapped. It's a very easy trap after that bishop's gone to move b5. So now the bishop is attacked, and as you see, he's lost. So, well, go back in this game. At this point, rook to b1 only puts him 1.3 down. That move puts him 3.8 down. We attack the bishop, and now his rook's in danger. So he moves in the corner, or the recommended moves to go in the corner. He moves his bishop away again. He just loves moving that bishop back and forth. So It's hard to believe a person is a rating this high, making moves like this. Okay, so what we've done again is we've simply taken advantage, we pinned it, and as you notice now we're 6 up. Now there's no material advantage one way or the other. We're 6 up. You know, he moved his bishop back simply because if he captured it, then he doesn't have any way of avoiding a rook trap. You know, the rook trap would at least occur with bishop to d7 after capturing that, because then that supports a pawn push, and his rook is terribly awkwardly placed. He would have to move c4, he'd have to do something. So, you know, c4 would basically give his rook no moves. So bishop to e2 is what's recommended again in this game by the computer, and he goes to chase the rook. Now, this is where I had knight takes g2 immediately, and this is a big calculation, and the computer saw it, and I just didn't want to give up a rook in a game where I'm already 10 up or 6 up or whatever it was. So I just moved the rook, and it made very little difference to the evaluation. If you look at the evaluation, we're still over 10 up. So now he's decided he's going to attack my c-pawn. And of course I can just let him have it and let him have all the counterplay in the world by simply playing knight to g2. But I also have all the time in the world to play knight to g2, so I protect the pawn. Now as you're going to see, once again I'm like 9 up, 10 up. Okay, so it really didn't make that much difference to the final evaluation. There's no mates, found yet. And I'm pretty sure that this person did not notice that this kind of move existed, so he moved his bishop there for some odd reason. I just took the pawn. And now the game is like completely, devastatingly over-crushed. The knight's lost forever. I mean, I don't have to attack it again. You know, if he takes it, then he loses his queen to bishop takes f3 check, and this game is over in a couple moves. So it says that the best move is queen to g6. Instead, I move my knight back, and now I have mate 2. So, this was a ridiculous game in terms of resignation or whatnot, but the point of this game is showing the pawn structure of what happens when they decline the Latvian gambit, and how to set up the pawn islands for white on the queen side, and how to basically play against that knight on f3 with the open f file. So that's the end of this Latvian gambit number 6.